Alrighty, so I've got a new build here. I've been testing out the Living Bomb skill. So Living Bomb is a skill you can only get from a specific type of staff. And this is what it looks like. So the way Living Bomb works, you can put the Living Bombs onto an enemy, and then after a brief duration, the bomb explodes. And so, you might be wondering, if you've looked at Living Bomb before, there is sort of like a delay to it. And so I'll just go ahead and show you how this is working. So this is the staff here. I bought the staff with just the plus levels and the spell damage for pretty cheap. It was the +6, the crit chance, and the spell damage. And then got lucky with some Exalt Slams, get a little bit of extra damage on there, but ideally I'd probably want a higher crit chance and cast speed on this instead. And then the main thing, this gives us our main skill, the Living Bomb skill. And in our skills, comes in here up at the top. I did find at level 16 is when you get your 4 support gems. The one right below this, you only get 3 support gems. So at this level, we get our 4 support gems, and the main thing that makes this work is the overabundance support here. So without the overabundance support, the seed duration is that 2.5 seconds. And let's just try it. So if I take this out, if I take the reduced duration out, I still have a little bit from the tree, but here you can see how much longer it takes the bomb to explode. Yeah, it takes forever. Not only it takes forever, but I can only have 2 out at the time. So, super slow. So the way this whole build works is it keys off of this overabundance, which will then drop the delay time way down. Duration goes in half from that 50% less. So 1.7 seconds, cut that in half with this, cut it even slower with the fast forward, and then the theoretical limit would be Swift Deflection as well. So with the Swift Deflection, we can get down to a 0.48, but I need a faster cast time to make the duration make sense, because you're kind of balancing between, as the duration goes lower, that means you need to cast faster to sort of keep the 3 active up at a time. So for now, I'm running the critical supports instead, and then just running these 2, plus the little bit of reduced duration on the tree. And so yeah, that's kind of the magic to the Living Bomb skill that makes it much quicker, much faster. And then I'm currently trying out crit scaling. So that's why the damage can be a little inconsistent sometimes, is if you don't crit, it takes a second longer than if you get a crit on your first try, then it tends to one-shot the packs. At least in the, I'm just in white maps here, just testing it out. So yeah, that's the main experiment with this build, at least where the build is at now, was to try out that Living Bomb skill, and I think it definitely has potential. Mechanically, I think what I really love about it is it's guaranteed 100%. Like, if your bomb goes on an enemy, it will do damage. And you don't, well, I say you don't need to aim, but you do need to at least hover over in the general vicinity of the mobs you want to have it blow up. So like you see that mob there, I can cast and cast, and I forget, it's not until he jumps in right next to me that it summons, right? But unfortunately it doesn't quite auto-target. Like if I could stand back here and have the bombs actually auto-target, that would be the dream. And so maybe on a controller, like if you're on a controller or Steam Deck or something, perhaps the auto-aiming on that could make this build feel even better. But on mouse and keyboard, you do need at least somewhat aim to get the bombs onto the enemies. So yeah, that's the main thing with the Living Bomb, but what I found, the reality of this build is it's actually more of a Detonate Dead build. So I've got the Detonate Dead, or actually I've got that Solar Orb just for a little extra support, and then Detonate Dead can pretty much carry once you start having mobs actually dead on the ground. The Living Bomb is slightly faster. The Detonate Dead has that kind of built-in delay. So a lot of the gameplay so far has just been use Living Bomb to like kill at least one thing, and then use Detonate Dead to finish up the rest. But you can kind of play with it either way. So yeah, that's the way the skill works. I think the skill's got a lot of potential to be pretty good. I think the crit scaling is kind of the only way to really make it work. And also, because it's fire, as compared to lightning or cold damage, fire kind of sucks because it doesn't do anything. Ignites don't really do anything. You don't get freeze, you don't get shock, you don't get electrocute. So yeah, I think either maybe using like 3 dragons and trying to convert some of the damage around might help, but for the most part, the Living Bomb mechanically is really good. The guaranteed hit on the enemy is really good. Damage is decent enough with the crit scaling trying to help out. And so yeah, and the nice thing is this whole time I haven't been using any mana, so this is a way to kind of change the way you think about how you use mana. And with this, now I can just use mana every once in a while to hit the Detonate Dead, whatever it may be. Jeez, all this poison damage. Alright, so that's what it looks like in a map. That's kind of what the gameplay looks like if I'm actually using all my abilities. Oh yeah, there's a firestorm in there for fun. Let's get out of here and I'll talk a little bit more about how everything works. Jeez, go away. So, the main thing, already talked about the staff. The rest of the gear in the class, the only other important gear piece is this amulet here to give +1 limit. So limit applies to a couple skills, and it does apply to the bomb as well. So naturally it has the limit of 1. The overabundance gives you the +1 limit and the less duration, which is great. And then grab this amulet to give you another +1 limit. Technically, you could probably make this work without this amulet, and with the lower cooldown time, it just gives you kind of less wiggle room. And just kind of eyeball testing, I typically need this to kind of smooth it out. And the way it works is you can get like 2 bombs cast, and then by the time your first bomb blows up, you'll be casting your 3rd bomb, and there's a little bit of overlap there. But in theory, I think if you really wanted to smooth out, you could get away with just the overabundance and having 2 bombs at a time. Otherwise, the rest of this build has been, like, this character's gone through like 3 different builds at this point. Been trying a lot of different things. It's an Infernalist, but there's no real good reason that it's Infernalist. But I stuck with it because I do like the Cloak of Flame plus the Infernalist node here for even extra fizz taken as chaos, and then more damage going over to fire damage. It's been a nice little tankiness. It hasn't really helped damage-wise, of course, but tankiness-wise, it's decent enough and was enough to let me survive the boss fights through Cruel and slowly chip away at the bosses as I go. And like, I put the sockets in there, but I haven't even socketed anything in because I'm not sure. I think I want to do the max fire res. Makes most sense to put into this, but I just haven't been able to buy it yet because I've been putting buying weapon upgrades. So yeah, other gear-wise, it's just looking for resistances, life. This is all just random stuff I've picked up. None of this is anything in particular. So the rest of your gear, you just get general tankiness, resistances, stuff like that. Skill tree, it's got that open here. Skill tree wise, like I said, originally this character wasn't going to be this, but I've been testing different things with the Infernalist, and so this node actually works fine for crit bonus, and the ignite, you can see in the mapping, like every once in a while you get ignited, but it basically doesn't do anything significant, as long as you have your fire resistance. So 30 more crit bonus is decent enough. And then the tree right now is in a state where I've prioritized just going for crit, so getting critical hit chance, going the crit here, and then going over to this side where you can get, I think, are pretty much the best crit nodes on the tree, the crit here and the crit here. Tree is definitely a hodgepodge of all sorts of different stuff, but right now it's just crit and then going for cast speed. Like this node up here, since my main skill doesn't cost mana, there's no downside, though of course it affects the other skills, but so get cast speed here, get cast speed here, and then the only real key things for the Living Bomb are then getting these reduced skill effect duration skills. So you get these skills here to reduce that delay between placing the bomb and the bomb blowing up. But other than that, you kind of can do whatever you want. I think the crit has been the best damage-wise. I've also tried stuff with Mind Over Matter, kind of works, because if you really scaled into the bomb damage, then you can put Mind Over Matter in and then use that as just a whole entire life pool, because you're not using your mana for much else. That definitely works, but then it kind of makes it annoying when you do want to use other skills. So for a while I was using Mind Over Matter and then put life tap on Detonate Dead, so that way I could always have the like, oh shit, clear the screen button available even after taking a bunch of damage and the mana going away. But I decided to go ahead and drop it because it was kind of getting a little thin of trying to scale into like mana nodes and getting mana here and then trying to get crit. So I decided to just drop it and go for the crit, and I think it does feel a little better, a little more consistent with the higher crit chance. But yeah, other than that, just generic damage over here, cast speed over there, nothing too special. I think you could do this with Archmage. I hit this here. You could do it with Archmage. You could do it with the Stormweaver and get Arcane Surge permanently. Would probably be pretty huge, getting more cast speed that way. There's no great reason to go Infernalist with this. I was thinking maybe going low life and actually like trying all of these, but the payoff for that's pretty small. It's basically this node and then a ton of points to get Pain Attunement, which I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, you could totally probably go Stormweaver instead and get Archmage, get more cast speed, do the mana defense stuff, and then you'd probably still have enough to do a little bit of crit over here as well. I think most Archmages are crit too, so so yeah, that's the tree wise, that's the skill. Leveling with the skill, I didn't actually level with this skill. I was doing all sorts of janky stuff, trying out some of the stuff with this wand and whatnot, but the one annoying thing about using a weapon granted skill like this is you have to like keep upgrading your weapons. So but I found these were all pretty cheap. These were no more than 5 exalts, I can't remember, but I never had more than 10 exalts at a time when I bought these. So if you do want to try it out, you can do a trade search, use your weighted sums, put in, plus to levels, cast speed's good, spell damage good, and then you just have to get a couple of these. The level 14, level 15 ones are pretty much worthless. You're more about just finding a good one where someone will actually respond. Level 16 is about the same, and then 17 and 18 is where they start to get a little more pricey, and then level 19s, there's only like 5 of them that exist. So I think your best bet to top end would be getting a level 18 staff with +6 or +7 to levels, and then if you like the crit, try to get as much crit as possible. Try to get some cast speed if you can, and yeah, this is the current one where I wasn't able to find the cast speed, but was able to get higher levels, and I think the higher levels is probably the best bet. This one has felt the best, but obviously that +6 on the level 16 is a huge jump. But yeah, overall it's kind of a weird experience, because traditionally in PoE with leveling with spells, right, you just level up your spell gem and then you get a new weapon whenever you need it. But with this, once I started leveling with it, or once I started testing it out, like I had to get this one to test it, and then oh, it's been 6 levels. All right, time to go shopping, get another weapon. Oh, another 4 levels. Oh, time to get another weapon. So yeah, and also the gaps are kind of weird here as well. 58, between 58 and 64, you don't get any upgrades, but then 64 to 66, you get an upgrade. Okay, whatever. But yeah, so I'd say if you got the money and if you want to get a really good Living Bomb staff, that definitely plays out well. You definitely want the overabundance and obviously less duration tech, but overabundance by far makes this playable. And then grab the amulet there to kind of smooth it out, and that's the base of the offense, right? And then the rest of the year you can kind of do whatever you want. Some other kind of final notes, cool things that you can do with the plus limit. The Soul Orb, you can get 2 of these. And both these hits are nice. So right now I'm just using a low level one for utility for the ignite and exposure stuff. But having 2 up is kind of cool. And then same with Firestorm. The +1 limit also works with that. So you can put a Firestorm over here and a Firestorm over there at the same time, if you want to do that, or double up the Firestorm into 2 places. That said, it's still a little, this is with concentrated effect as well, so trying to group it up a little bit, and it's still a pretty big area. And with doubling the Firestorm, it kind of works. It's kind of fun. You might be able to, if you really like the Firestorm effect, or you want something like this to work, definitely want to go with this to double up your Firestorm. And then in theory, you could even do 3 if I put this on here, but look at that. Triple Firestorm. But you can see it's still not the best coverage. That's only 2. And in Firestorms, this gem becomes a downside because you cut your time in half. Whereas Living Bomb, this becomes 2 upsides. So double Firestorm's cool. And then Flame Blast, I was testing around with that. Flame Blast is just a little too slow, I think. So you can summer it on the orbs like this. Or if you don't have an orb, you can summer it on yourself. And it definitely, it does damage. It'll pop things. But just the fact of the matter is in PoE2, you can pop things way faster. This is with pretty good cast speed and whatnot. And yeah, it's just, why would you wait to channel and pop when you can just do things that are way faster? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, oh yeah, I guess the one last little thing, another nice thing about the Living Bomb is its off-screen abilities. Like that guy way up there, you can sort of off-screen. I wouldn't say it's S-tier off-screening like a projectile build, but there is no limit to how far Living Bomb can cast. So another little plus to it. And so yeah. So in summary, Living Bomb mechanically really good with the couple skill gems and the reduced duration, makes it quite playable. And ultimately it's a on the mob big AoE explosion skill. So the mechanisms, the damage delivery mechanism is pretty nice. But you've got to, like, you're limited. You have to use the staff. You have to, you know, use the trade to get a weapon that's any good to actually play the build. And then, yeah. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show. Just a quick little overview of what the skill does, how the skill plays. Very playable skill. Like any skill with enough gear and just being able to get, you know, a shit ton more crit damage, crit scaling, that type of stuff. This build and this mechanics of this build could easily be a pretty smooth mapper, pretty decent play. There's that rare mob there that barely even saw me. I just off screen it. So yeah, that's it.